morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning, and hello, kids. And it seems that we got some grooves in the background.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it was still playing. It was supposed to stop.
We got a groovy grizzly. Yes.
It's AI-generated music from Restream. It's called Corporate.
There you go.
Well, there's like about 30 of them.
All right. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number. I had it and then I just lost it off the top of my head. 400 and.
I don't know when I wrote it.
It's the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, God. Yeah, we do all our own stunts too. Pray for us. The Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network.
407.
Yeah, 407. I knew 404 was like, or 3 was too low. I just couldn't figure out why.
Because 409 is Friday. Formula 409 on Friday.
409. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver. And as you can hear, with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. There you go. We have a bit of a long show for you on Wednesday, abnormally long, because Mr. Grizzly gets to go in a little later.
Longer than normal. I have to... my shifts at let me see if I can get this out of my mouth correctly. My call is at 9:30. I'm being picked up at 9 because we have a bit of a drive.
Yes. So hopefully we'll be able to have enough content for you this morning to take advantage of this bonus time that we have. But before we do anything else, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
You know, I think it's actually pretty good, all things considered. I think so. I'm not. Well, I just have water. I ran out of coffee and I forgot to go to the store to buy some yesterday. So I've got no coffee. Yeah. And I didn't make any tea because I don't know. I looked at the kettle. I don't have coffee. So I looked at the kettle and I'm like, I'm supposed to do something with that. I don't know what it is. And there's no water. It's like, just barely any water. And I'm staring at it and I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out later. So I came in.
Not that I don't love you. It's just that I can't today.
Yeah. Came in and I sat down here and started working. I'm like, okay. Then it was like, oh, yeah, I could have made some tea. And the funny thing was when I took Lola out for a walk, I was going to go to the corner store and grab a coffee. But again, usually I have coffee before I take her out. And because I didn't have any, I'm just not awake. Sounds terrible, right? It's like,
had you had coffee before you took her out, you would have remembered to get coffee.
Yes, I would have. That's the thing.
But then you didn't need coffee.
Yeah. And it's, you must be addicted to caffeine. Yes.
Yes.
I am. I don't lie about it. I have 2 cups a day in the morning, sometimes a third. Usually just 2. Although sometimes we've had Friday mornings where I've been dragging my butt and I've had 3, maybe a 4th one. But If I have more than 2, it's because I desperately need it. So
your eager beaver's dragging his butt because, unfortunately, the beaver sweetie, who he loves with all his heart, has started snoring at 3:30 in the morning. It's been 3 days in a row. He is still in one piece.
Literally.
He is still in one piece and breathing. I'm happy to report. But yeah, tonight I might have to go and sleep on the couch again because, as you can see, the beaver's coming with luggage right here. I'm a bit of a tired boy, but that does not matter, kids and cubs, because we are all here together, and you bring me joy. Good morning to you, Kit Vim, Kit Linda, Kit Carol, Kit Cassie. Lovely to see you in the chat today. Kit Elaine, Kit PNC Bio, yes. And we hear I read the chat before we started. Yes, all these new subscribers, but not all of them available in the morning to join in the chat.
Well, 40% of the new subscriber base is in India, so greetings to India.
Yes, which is really interesting.
They're 12 hours ahead. Well, it's the largest English-speaking country on earth.
Yes.
There's 850, almost 900 million people that speak English there. So it is the world's largest English-speaking nation. So I'm like, well, we're an English-speaking program and oftentimes Francophone as well. But I thought, let's advertise in nations where there's a lot of English speakers because it only makes sense, I think.
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Jim. Good morning, Kit Saucy. Let's see, Kit Tavi G. Lovely to see you. Who else is behind that magic mirror here? If I'm looking, Kit Argosi Acres. Hey, lovely that you've joined us today. And who else do we have? I think that is everyone this morning. So welcome and thank you for joining us. And in case somebody,
yes, Vim, please do.
Kit Mystical there popping up to get a hello this morning as well. And Kit Mike H, Kit Jillian. Yeah, with a moi. I see you. Kit Linda and Mr. Beaver, Mr. Grizzly will get hauled in by the cons for foreign interference. Oh my. Kit Michael, good morning. Yes, and Miss Shatika, good morning to you too. Yes, no. We do not want to be foreign interference, but we are aware that Canada is being talked about a lot in India.
Yeah.
Kind of talking a lot about them, so it's kind of natural that there might be a little interest there. I also saw on one of the chats from the YouTube channel to which you responded, Mr. Grizzly, that someone who claims to have listened to over 100 of our episodes, but now seems to be upset that we decided to advertise. Again, don't know if this is a real person or real listener or whatnot, or somebody just trolling or bot or something. But apparently, according to this person, we have bought subs and we are sellouts because since day one, we've said we would like to make this an enterprise and yes, profitable. And
it's never been a secret.
Yeah. So not quite sure exactly what that was about, but if not outright capitalists, we're at least social capitalists. And
I mean, come on, look, we want to get paid for our work. It's as simple as that. If we can earn some money doing this, we put in 35, 40 hours a week on top of our day jobs and our relationships and our other responsibilities to life. So wanting to get paid for what we do.
Boom, just got paid.
Is that I'm sorry, is that a bizarre thing that I would want to get paid for my efforts, for my work? I'm working, shouldn't I get paid?
Shaking all around. Boom, boom. Yep.
So call us sellouts, go ahead.
Pay daddy.
What was it? Gene Simmons from Kiss, every time somebody would say, you're a sellout. And he goes, yes, we sell out every stadium we play, every night we play in it. Yes, we do. Yep. It's about earning a living.
Yep.
I've said from day one, I'm not trying to get rich. I just want to join the middle class.
Yes. We would like to get paid for what people think our work is worth. And conversely, when or simultaneously throughout the show, we preach everybody getting paid what it is that they're worth. So why not us? Anyway, doesn't matter. That kind of happened, but just in case some people were wondering, thinking, we figured we would just address it proactively.
And we were very kind and gentle. I just stated simple facts.
Yeah, facts first. This is we incorporated for a reason.
Yes.
Just saying. So there you go. All right. Kids and Cubs.
Have a quick hit on the garden party?
Pardon?
Oh, you don't know about the garden party?
I do not know about the garden party.
Oh,
I was a little Oilers obsessed, but please, let's start.
Fair point. Yeah, no, and way to go, Edmonton. But there was a garden party held at Stornoway for independent media.
Oh.
Yes. Let's see. Who were some of the independent media?
Little foreign interference.
Latinos Magazine is one of them. That's the independent media. Who else was there? Darshan Maharaja from, I'm not sure what... he says, had an enjoyable evening at Pierre Poilievre's garden party for third language media today.
Okay. Third language media.
All the attendees got to chat with Pierre at length about their issues of concern, not a presser setting, but rather in a very relaxed and informal atmosphere. So somebody said, Punjabi is the correct for third language? No, Punjabi is only one of the languages represented here. We had Farsi, Gujarati, Ukrainian, and many more. So I don't...
Yep, I have no problem with that.
Oh, no, I know. But wait till I show you the speech he gave.
Oh.
See, this is where it gets...
See, if it was a garden party for the rebels and all of them, the True North and one, that would be one thing. Third language media, that's...
Well...
It is an avenue of entry for foreign interference, but this is a long-standing tradition. It's like having a bus of people coming to a nomination meeting. There's nothing on the face of it that is terrible.
Just listen to this speech, though. Listen to what he has to say, and then draw your own conclusion.
Being here today so that we can honor this incredible group of independent media that tell the stories of our communities and hold governments accountable. We wanted to, I told my team that I wanted to bring together the independent voices in the media, not those that are controlled by the government or the big corporations. They're controlled by Bell or Shaw or Rogers or some other big conglomerate connected to the government, but the independent and diverse voices that tell the real story. And we said we want just the people who are very precious to their communities. We want to bring them here and have wonderful, authentic, one-on-one conversations here at the official residence of His Majesty's Leader of the official opposition. And it's an honor for Anna as well to be hosting us. She's the one that chose the music. What do you think?
Thank you. I hope that you get to enjoy the music. We have our amazing DJ over here who's going to be singing after this, and his name is Luis. And just to show how creative my Latin culture is, I have a friend here that's named Luis as well from Latinos Magazine. My grandfather's name is Luis. My dad's name is Luis. And my brother's name is Luis. And this is not a joke. I'm sure you can't relate. And talking about relating, I just want to thank all of you because some of you have shared your stories with me. And as I understand, when I introduced my husband, when he became the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, when I shared my story, a lot of you came to me and said that you can relate to this story. And so I am very thankful for that. And just to know that, you know, the hope and the dream here is that whether you came to Canada 10 years ago or 100 years ago, we want to bring the Canada that we all know and love, where we all have the opportunities and that all the sacrifices that we have to leave behind do not go in vain. So let's keep fighting, and I thank you all for being here.
So, some sincerity from Anna. Sincerity there, of course. Yes.
Yep.
What was his whole take on not the government-controlled corporate media?
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Again, in the context of the whole foreign interference debate, governments of other countries intimidating citizens here, as is suspected for China, for example, and Iran, or trying to run certain types of influence operations. Third language media is one of the vehicles for that.
Yes.
Because not saying that that's the case for the ones gathered here, that it is a vehicle for it. Media were mentioned in the foreign interference report, the NCCAP report, and it seems that it's not so much mainstream media as other types of media or things like documentary filmmakers and stuff like that, trying to influence at those levels. Which would be third party or foreign media. Now, Stephen Harper really liked this. Goes back to those days. Really liked foreign media a lot, and one of the reasons that the Conservatives like foreign media is, one, they have the assumption that most people that immigrate to Canada come from cultures that have values that are more in line with the Conservative Party, specifically if they're religious based. Although they don't seem to much like the people. For example, Muslims. They like the fact that they're conservative and that they're anti-gay.
So they can control them to a certain degree.
Yes. That's what they assume, I should say. But that the culture or that the religion doesn't promote it. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to say that Muslims are anti-gay. That's not true.
There's some.
But they take the assumption that because the religion stands against it, that most people share those same values and therefore will be more inclined to vote conservative. So that's what they had Jason Kenney doing, that big outreach to ethnic communities. And then they turned around and then, when they needed to win more white votes, I guess, they came out with the stitch line and then had problem with citizenship ceremonies.
Yeah, the snitch line. Yeah.
Right? They loved them last summer when we were having the anti-trans protests, but they hate them this summer now that there are pro-Palestinian protests.
Yeah.
Right? So in this whole thing that this is bathing in again, this bathwater, the reason why he's talking about so it's really weird that he's talking about, all this media that's not government controlled and not like this, when some of them could actually be government controlled, just not ours.
Well, how come it was independent media? Wouldn't that make us independent media?
But not English nor French as well. That's what I'm saying. If it was
my
just
wife speaks Spanish.
No, but if it was just an independent media, he could have them, but he would also have the rebels. You noticed he did not have the rebels in the True Norths.
I don't know that they weren't there. I don't know.
I would assume that they're not, again, because
it's probably not. Yes,
foreign language media. But the whole shtick about independent, not controlled, but like this, he would say that if that was a gathering of the True Norths and the rebels and whatnot. Yes. And the reason why he likes those and likes the little local community papers as well, why he was doing that interview with that reporter down on that farm when he did the apple thing in the orchard, right? They like those type of media. And the reason they like them is that they don't have the budget or the staff to do the checking, to do the fact checking. Often they will take the Conservative Party press release and just print it. Often they will take the interview and just print it verbatim, question, answer, like this, which is something political parties love when their message goes in like a hypodermic needle. This is what we wanted, and this is exactly what you printed.
That's a good question.
No analysis, no critique, no fact check. That's what they really love, and that's the reason why they love these media in particular.
Linda's got
like Donald Trump saying, "I love the poorly educated."
Yes, and there's a reason for that. He can manipulate you. Says, I wonder if Al Jazeera was there. That's a good question, because Al Jazeera is
not independent,
multilingual. because it reports in multiple languages. Yeah, but it's not
one of the biggest press agencies in the world.
Yeah, and I like Al Jazeera. I remember when they first came out, they called it.
Oh yeah, Al Jazeera English is very good.
But when they first came out, and they were called the terrorist news network or something, a lot of Americans slambled that, and I think a number of Canadians did as well. And I questioned the whole point of it, but it's like, oh no, they're from Qatar, and they are an independent, and their reporting is Al Jazeera English. Their reporting is excellent.
It is. It is. It's like a lot of these things that people don't understand, right? Because Al Jazeera does some very good reporting. Fox News. I was having this conversation with somebody like this. The 1 hour a day on Fox News where there actually is news, it's actually decent.
Oh yeah,
it's the other 23 hours a day.
That's crap.
And Fox's polling department, because I mean it's all about manipulation, right? Fox's polling department is probably the best one in all of U.S. network television.
Really?
Yes.
I was not aware of that.
Yes, which is probably explains the reason why Fox called Arizona first last time around, and Trump got mad. And turns out Fox called it right.
Interesting.
You got to give. What are the reasons why you listen? Why I listen to what the opponents say? Because a lot of people just turn around. Oh, I see this a lot, right? It's like, oh, he's talking. I listened to him for 30 seconds, couldn't stand it, turned it off. It's like, I don't do that. I understand why people would do that. There are lots of times I want to do it. Trust me. That's why I keep on saying I do it so you don't have to.
Yes.
Watch this stuff. But knowing what it is they are saying, to whom they are saying it, how they are saying it, what frame they are putting on it, which avenues they're using to get the message out. All of these things are very important. Knowing what it is that they do poorly and what it is that they do well. And the things that they appear to do poorly on purpose, like for example, how why can't they read a sentence and get it? Trust me, they read the sentence, they got it. That's how they get it that wrong.
Oh, yes.
They knew what to do to be able to take it off. It was like not all of these people are as thick or as obtuse or as dumb as they look or sound. Right? A lot of this is by design. So, but what conservatives like, very, very much like, is they want to circumvent media that have the biggest budgets and the biggest ability to fact check, and media that is critical. That's why Pierre Poilievre, as we had our conversation with Laura Babcock on the day after Trump was found guilty, and she was talking about flooding the zone. That's why he produces so much content. That's why there's a video every day. That's why there's a couple of clips from QP every day. That's why all the minions have their own clips and whatnot. Because if they could put out that much content and get people reacting to that content, get mainstream media acting about the content, asking about the content they put out and the reaction and whatnot, the conservatives control the narrative.
Right.
It's not our questions being asked. It's the conservative questions going into the global pool, and they're asking the conservative questions of everyone else. It's lazy. It's lazy journalism.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. But when you've got one party that's driving the narrative and that's driving the content, that's running around lighting 1,000 brush fires here, they're making everybody dance to the tune they're calling. That's what you got in. Yeah. Okay. Swanky Frankie. Yeah. So you can't keep up with Trump. He's a circus. That's basically it. By the time you're talking about the latest scandal, the latest dumb thing he said or outrageous thing he said 12 more.
Yeah. It's to keep you confused, keep you in the dark.
Yeah. Yes, PNC Buyer, Al Jazeera does have a Qatar blind spot as well. But that's the thing that you need to know, right? When it comes to, for example, with the Bloc Québécois, I say all the time, if it has to do with anything other than Quebec autonomy or independence, you could probably take what they say at face value. You can cash that check. When it's about that one subject,
different story.
You know the politics is going to come in. You know the twerking and the twisting and the framing and whatnot, because there it's important. On the other stuff, they have nothing to lose. With the Green Party, on everything, you could take it to the bank. But when it comes to environmental things, that's where you're going to see the hyperbolic language. That's where you're going to see it, because that's their main issue.
Oh, yes.
That's where you're going to see the push a little more. They do it less than other parties, but they do it a little bit. So Al Jazeera would be the same thing, right? On the Jewish Palestine thing, you might want to take one or two things with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if they want to be in the big leagues, like Agence France-Presse and Reuters and AP, and not be rejected by their own peers, they can't do too much of that.
Mm.
Right? By wanting to remain at the big table, that itself is a check and balance as to how far they can go. Because if they start going too far, then they become like Fox. Well, yes, they have a lot of presence, but they're not taken seriously by their own industry.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's very much the thing.
And it's the same thing I say often with when you were asking about polling companies. It's like, yes, every polling company has their own methodology and the way that they weight things, and they adjust it along the way, and that's all proprietary information. But the ones that go so far as to like ask really leading questions and, skew things, looking at you, Angus Reid, when you look at the ratings that they get from the aggregators, yes, you see that recognized by their own peers, they're recognized as not as good.
Mm-hmm.
Angus Reid, for some reason, has the ability to always get itself in the press. I don't know, it's either by content or just willing to have the Saatchi Curls and whatnot of the world being the face of the company in the media all the time, because I do not know how one of the polling companies with the worst reputations gets to moderate a debate, for example, which they screwed up, or is constantly invited like once a week on CTV, right, to talk about the latest poll or something. You would think you would aim for better quality, but like the quality of their product isn't good enough to justify the amount of media time they get. So they have a very active media and promotions department compared to a Léger, for example, who we almost never see when you're watching these shows. So, yes, it's a competitive world and you want to get your advantage, but you can't, if you want to remain on the big players, considered respectable among the big players, among your own peers, there is only so far you can go. So a healthy dose of skepticism with regard to polling and all that kind of stuff is needed. But the whole sort of like, oh, all polling is terrible, blah, 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 and you should reject it. Why not? No. There's a healthy dose of Al Jazeera when they're talking about certain subjects. Yes. But to just like, oh, it's the terrorist newspaper, terrorist press agency. No, that doesn't work. And same thing with this event here. Turn around and said, oh, well, all these little possibly foreign controlled independent media that Pierre's talking to, you could say that, but if they were all that controlled as well, there probably wouldn't be much of an industry for them, because there wouldn't be much take-up. There wouldn't be much desire in terms of readership at this end for it once you arrive in Canada. So, but that doesn't mean that there isn't attempts, or every now and then there isn't an article or on a specific story.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I would assume that an independent third language media would be much more likely to go and interview the ambassador when there's an issue, maybe than we would. And therefore, the take may happen that way. Or people from their business community. Right? So there's many ways for this to play out, but you can't put, unless it's like really blatantly terrible and obvious, like the Epoch Times, for example.
Yeah.
Which really went downhill for the last little while. Healthy skepticism, but don't brush it all off as well. Be critical. Because, have your critical eye, have your critical thinking when you're consuming. But there is often good stuff there in perspective that we don't get in our mainstream press. It does have value. So I can understand the leader of the opposition speaking to them. But framing, the interesting part about all of that is that while he's talking to them about not being government controlled or whatnot, he is holding this party and sweet talking to them in this way in order to bring them under his control. Not a direct control, not hard power, right? But really, really soft power. Hey, we're treating you as just as important as all the other media. That's like Pierre Poilievre, who has great disdain for the large mainstream press. And, if I'm going to give a presser before them, I need to be dragged kicking or screaming, or it needs to be something of national importance. I mean, he still hasn't done a major press conference yet since the NCCOP report came out.
It's true.
But he's holding this event. As I am willing to make time for you, but I'm not willing to make time for CTV, CBS, not CBS, CBC, CTV, City TV, Global, the Globe and Mail, Toronto Star, National Post. He's not even making time for those ones, the conservative ones, because they too have to sometimes ask the question in order to still be considered somewhat seriously, even though we know they're not.
Yeah.
But to maintain the fig leaf of illusion. But the leader of the opposition, the guy who might be prime minister, is inviting us to his house.
Yeah. We get access to him.
Whining and dining. We have this type of access. He's willing to talk to us when he's not willing to talk to the other guys. When you're a small outlet and you get that exclusive interview when he stops by your province, it sells a few papers. Maybe the leader of the opposition hopes that newspaper won't fact check as much, so they'll come back. Or it's more likely to print things verbatim. It's a game.
Of course it is.
It's a game. We see it in the mainstream media. Why is it that they didn't ask that tough question? Well, then they're afraid that politician will not go. Well, they'll say, you know what? You asked me that really tough question. It was a little embarrassing. You're not going to get any interviews and anything off record for us for the next 3 months. Let's see how you like that. Mm-hmm. Right? These are games that are played. So healthy skepticism, absolutely. Yes. Broad brush strokes, try to avoid that. Kitladem, the question is, what did they report, if anything, about the garden party? You know what? That's a damn good question. I will look it up while...
well, this happened on June 11th.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah. I'm learning about it this morning. So...
All right. Yeah, then I guess that didn't really make much news to either, because I follow stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you're just learning about it when I told you. So
yeah. Oh, well, here, according to the Hill Times, and the New Pathway Ukrainian News reported on it. So, okay, why is there no window? It's really weird. There we go. Let's see what they have to say. June 13th. Pierre Poilievre speaks at the garden party at his official residence. Okay, that's the photo there. By Yuri Blinsky, New Pathway Ukrainian News. Reflecting his preference for ethnic media over mainstream outlets, the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, welcomed multicultural media representatives to a garden party at his Stornoway residence in Ottawa's lush Rockcliffe Park area on Tuesday, June 11th. Poilievre and his wife, Anaida, proved to be warm and engaging hosts at the charming government-owned property. Notice the tone. Already. The gathering provided and this is... what is it? New Pathway, I believe. I think it's Ukrainian, but I'm not sure. Might be Russian.
I question, really, Ukraine? Ukraine was invited to the party? Didn't he vote against every support measure?
but he's got to maintain the illusion. Remember,
Right?
I guess he also voted against lots of things against the Jewish community, but he keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the slimiest politician ever in Canada.
Yes. The gathering provided an opportunity for representatives from multicultural media outlets to engage in informal yet extensive conversations with Poilievre and around a dozen other Conservative MPs, including Conservative Whip Carrie Lynn Findlay. Pierre expressed his ongoing commitment to reaching out to independent and diverse media outlets, which he believes convey the authentic narrative. Following an introduction by Deputy Leader Tim Uppal, Poilievre addressed the key points of his platform, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Additionally, he outlined his proposal to streamline the recognition of professional credentials for newcomers through the Blue Seal Professional Certification Program. During discussions with New Pathway Ukrainian News, the opposition leader affirmed his support for Ukraine, advocating for a robust energy export policy and increased weapons support for the country. Naida Poilievre extended a warm welcome to the guests, blah, 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 blah. Lively dancing. The festivities continued late into the evening, fueled by a generous bar and an array of international cuisine.
A generous bar. Well, that's not a surprise now, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Then that's about the only thing I'm looking through Google, and that's the only reporting on it. Yep, the only reporting. The only other thing is a tweet, a link to a tweet.
The only thing I got was just a post on Twitter that somebody sent me to let me know about it. And it's like, well,
exactly. And the tweet that I lead is to the one, the garden party of last year, June 24th, 2023. Stornoway chef, I was asked by Pierre Poilievre to make borscht and have plenty of caviar and vodka on hand for a friend guest of Peepee's. I wonder who it might be. Must be a VIP, as he said he expects the guest to stay for a long time, and fluffer Michael Cooper may be asked to leave. Yeah, that's a little bit of a rumor here. But yes, Stornoway chef. But yes, open, it seems a generous bar, lots of food, and lively dancing. And as a result, a rather glowing piece.
So, well, shall we say a bit of a payoff?
These are the things, right? It doesn't look like big, but charming event. They were warm. They were like this. Notice this is the Ukrainian press, and sort of like he's pledged his continued support, and it seems they did not ask a question.
Well, it's all just very suspect.
It seems to me that, again, what I don't know much about the outlet. What type of Ukrainian paper? Ukrainian pro-Russian? Ukrainian? We don't know.
There's a good question there, yeah.
Right? But could be a Russian paper that publishes in Ukrainian. Right? We don't know. But we do know that this alleged Ukrainian media went to a garden party. This obviously asked something about Ukraine or heard him mention something in his remarks about Ukraine, wrote it, and didn't say, why'd you screw us over on free trade, buddy?
Like what? How come that question wasn't even, like, I mean, come on. I mean, that'd be the first question I'd ask. Hey, why'd you vote again? Why'd you vote no about Ukrainian free trade? Or just carbon? There's no.
Just heard in the mainstream news yesterday that about 20,000 Ukrainian kids have been adopted out.
Yes.
You got anything to say about that?
What's happening with that? Yeah, no comment. Nothing. Yeah.
I mean, there's just, like I said, there are two questions that were just sitting right there.
Why do I get a feeling this presser, this garden party was more like something to do with the Hollywood Foreign Press? Right. They just buy them off. That's what I mean.
And again, not saying that this press can be bought off.
But it certainly
But
has
he's
that
treating them like he thinks they can be.
The optics. It's the optics, right? Presents it that way.
Yeah. Yep, indeed. Man. Okay. Now, I just have to, for a couple seconds, speak about the Oilers.
Oh yeah, that was
because we just touched on them as we were going into this. You needed to watch that game. If you missed it, it was a really good game.
It was a really good game.
Oh my God. And near the end, because it got close.
Oh, it
again,
did.
like Oilers were up 3-0, and all of a sudden it was 4-3.
Yeah.
With a good amount of time left in that third period, and Florida pulls the goaltender at one point.
Yeah.
So 6 against 5, and it's like, what does Edmonton have to do to get a puck in an empty net? Like, there's twice the puck was going, or 3 times I think the puck was going to the net, and then some Florida Panther does something absolutely spectacular, or like, for example, one time Zach Hyman did, they actually called it during the show a good draw weight shot, so the crew in me was happy because it went far enough into the zone, but not enough so that we considered offside. So we actually did get the clearing and be able to use more time. But it wasn't enough for it to go into the net itself because it was heading right to the net.
Didn't Tkachuk get in and just save it at the last second, only to be scored on like 2 seconds later?
And that was the other one. This guy, like this from the blue line, throws himself on his belly to slide, then sticks his stick out right in front, and then hooks it just as it's going in. And it's like, oh, come on, man.
Well,
and then
was
it McDavid?
It was McDavid.
McDavid was like just behind him and then just did a half loop and then stuck it back in. It's like, finally. But this was like about like a minute and a half to 2 minutes of trying to get an extra one in and all coming so close. It was a great game. I have never seen in hockey somebody deliberately throw themselves on their belly and slide.
Oh, I've seen it.
I've never seen that. Not like that. I've seen people throw themselves on the ice like to block a shot or something, but slide with the stick out to try and hook like they're fishing something out. That was, dude. Yeah, I want the Edmonton Oilers to win, but that was a play.
Yeah,
that was definitely a play. They'll be showing that on clips like 5 and 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the best plays and whatnot. But we are now 3-2 going back to Edmonton, which like in tennis, we would say we're essentially on serve, right? Because you would expect that if it went 7, they'd win the home games, and then, well, the 7th, it's up for grabs. So it didn't exactly happen that everybody won their home games, but now it's going back to Edmonton, and if Edmonton can win at home, we are going to get a game 7, which will be in Florida. But could it be? Could it be? It would be so nice for the Cup to come back to Canada for the first time in over 30 years, coming back from 3-0 down.
It would be nice.
Oh my God. It's like there'll be like a whole generation of children like 50 years ago, 50 years from now. Remember that Stanley Cup in 2024? We came back from 3-0 down. Oh man. But I am excited. I know that our good friend Craig from Canadian history, who's been eating Oilers donut every Stanley Cup playoff match that the Edmonton Oilers have been in. So if they win the Cup, that means 16 of those babies consumed, which is one of the reasons he has decided that he is going to learn how to swim. He figures he would need to work them off. And it seems that our good friend is keeping a bit of a tally, Mr. Grizzly.
4, 8, 12, 13, 14. He needs 2 more to get
2 more.
4-16, 4 series, 16 wins to get to the Stanley Cup.
Let's go. Let's go, donuts. I believe in the power of the donut.
Mm.
All right. Enough fun. Enough. Well, no, not enough fun, but yes. When was the last done and for Stanley Cup? I do not know. That's a good
I'd have to look
question.
that
At
one up.
PNC Bio. But yes. Yes, Kit Cassie as well. Let's talk a little bit by-elections, because there was a by-election in Manitoba last night for at the provincial level, and the NDP did win it, which would be, I think, a fairly safe prediction, because since coming into power, the Manitoba NDP and the Premier have been doing really, really, really well, and exceeding expectations, you would say. But it's the constituency of Tuxedo. Sounds real classy in Winnipeg, and it has flipped orange for the first time. So while in one way it's not surprising, given the performance of the NDP, it is surprising in that this is a seat that traditionally, clearly, is not an NDP seat. It's flipped for the first time. Carla Compton, a registered nurse, won by 617 votes, garnering a total of 3,736, according to CTV. The Progressive Conservative Party candidate, Lawrence Pinsky, came in second with 3,119 votes, according to Elections Manitoba's unofficial results. Jamie Fow, the Manitoba Liberal Party's candidate, came in third with 575. Yee, that's a big difference. The Liberals are literally nowhere. And I still remember, I'm old enough to remember Sharon Carsters.
That's a while ago.
Yeah. And the Green Party of Manitoba was in last place with 118 votes. It was Compton's second time running in Tuxedo, the other being in 2019 when she came in third. The Tuxedo seat had been a PC stronghold since 81 when the riding was created. Gary Filmon would go on to serve as premier between 1988 and 1999, won the seat. In 2000, former Premier Heather Stephenson was voted in with the PC party. So it seems to be a premier seat as well. So that is a big flip. Despite being a PC seat for so long, the NDP took it over in the fall of 2023 election when Larissa Ashton lost to Stephenson by 268 votes. The seat was vacated on May 6th after Stephenson resigned in late April. There you go. So that happened in Winnipeg. And, of course, we have a very big by-election coming on in the electoral district of St. Paul's in the Toronto region, which is the seat that was held by Dr. Carolyn Bennett, who retired after, I think, 26 or 27 years in the House and is now our ambassador to Denmark. And it seems that one is really interesting. One, it's a Liberal stronghold, so a lot of people are looking at it in the sense, if the Liberals lose it, well, then it means, it's complete disaster. And if the Liberals do it, you're going to see the whole press. It's just going to go, now when is Justin going? So like if the Liberals lose this one, Justin has to go now. That will be the narrative. Not sure how competitive it is being considered at the moment, but it seems that everybody wants it because it seems that there are 84 candidates on the ballot, and that the voting ballot is going to be a near meter long.
Wow. That's, wow.
According to Darren Major of the CBC News, when voters in Toronto St. Paul's go to the polls later this month, they might be wishing the ballot had a search function. A record 84 people have put their names forward as candidates for the June 24th by-election, making it the longest ballot ever in a federal election. Dozens of independent candidates have entered the race as part of an organized protest against Canada's first past-the-post voting system. We need to highlight the fact that our voting system is a joke and it's producing results that are completely inaccurate and distorted, said Glenn McDonald, a candidate in Toronto St. Paul's and a volunteer with the group Longest Ballot Committee. I'm going to put my biases up front. If we are changing the way that we vote, I prefer a preferential ballot. the proportional representation system, personally. Right?
Why?
But I like the fact that we have one candidate, one riding.
Mhm.
When you have the mixed member proportional, then you have lists, and then there can be some stuff that goes around with, who gets on those lists,
Right.
like this, and who do they represent, constituency wise? Who do you go to? So less representatives for more people tied directly to a riding. RMPs are already hard worked enough.
Agreed.
Especially those in the northern that have huge geographic areas that live far away, and we don't need that. Also, the concept that if every individual political identity has their little space in it, then everybody works collaboratively. I mean, we've seen Israel. Like I said, we've seen other countries, and we look at the European Parliament. These parties form blocks. So, and now you can leave and move around in your blocks, but they form blocks.
Yes.
And blocks are essentially bigger political parties by other names. Right? So the system eventually just sort of reverts back to the mean. I like a preferential vote because I get to express my full thought when I go to vote. Right now, when I go to vote, I'm either voting X because I really prefer this candidate, or I'm voting X because there's a candidate I really don't want. So I'm voting the block, even though I don't particularly care for the candidate I'm using the block. Or I'm voting an X as a protest vote. Right?
Yes, and that does happen.
When I get to fill out my full ballot, I get to vote who I want the most, who I want the least, or not at all by not putting a number. Who I can live with. And I like the idea that in whatever electoral district that I'm in, the person that ultimately wins is the person that most people can live with. They've expressed their first, second, and third choice. Some people might just express their first choice and that's it. And you can do that. Because I could go and fill out a ballot and I could put a number on everyone and put the Conservative Party member dead last, even behind the Communist Party of Canada member if I want to. Or I could just not put a number against because that's how much I don't want them, right? But in my riding, for example, if I really wanted to encourage the Green candidate, because I thought they were great, even though they didn't have a chance, but wanted the NDP candidate to win,
right?
Yes, I would vote the Green candidate first, and I would vote my NDP candidate second. And then the rest if I thought that they actually deserved to be. But, your vote is more rich because you get to express fully what you want. You get to actually express who you want most and who you can live with, which eliminates the need for strategic voting like we have it currently, that I'm voting X to block O.
Right.
Regardless of what I think of X. Right? So that's sort of the main reasons. And but the whole argument that this is based on, that your vote doesn't count, or your vote hasn't been counted, whatnot, or that you're not getting fair results or you're not getting real results. It's producing results that are completely inaccurate and distorted. No, it's not. It's not. We have 338, soon 343 individual elections, and in that one election, right? That's the thing with proportional representation. They want to count the national vote, right? So they want the whole vote to be one national vote instead of 338 individual votes to sort of balance it out. So I say if you allow each individual district to say who it is that they can most live with, get a consensus candidate in each district, then you don't need to do some mathematical readjustment after the fact with the parliament, and then try to fit some seats with people that you got from a list, and then have some MPs that are not associated directly with the riding, and that we keep the things that we like the best about first past the post,
Yes.
One MP, one riding. But we get to express more what we think, which is sort of my take. But if we can't agree that regardless of what system we take, because when the votes are counted,
Yes,
all the votes are counted. And if you vote for the NDP, when they say a vote for the NDP is a vote for the Liberals, no, the vote for your NDP goes into the column under the NDP column.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't go somewhere else.
Party.
Your vote was counted. You were guaranteed a vote. You were not guaranteed a result.
That's what I think a lot of people have lost sight of. Well, the other guy's going to win anyway, so what does it count? Well, if enough people say that, we end up getting Doug Ford as Premier of Ontario. And enough people just said and did that. Well, he's going to win anyway, so what does my vote count? Let me explain snowflakes to you. The one snowflake doesn't do much. 10 trillion of them do. It all adds up. So your vote is one snowflake amongst a pile of them. So vote.
A lot of snowflakes together make an avalanche. Same. The longest ballot committee has encouraged candidates to put their names forward in protest in 2 previous by-elections in the Ontario riding of Mississauga Lakeshore in 2022, and last year in Winnipeg South Centre, which previously held the record for most candidates. For Toronto St. Paul's, the group has roughly doubled the number of candidates on the ballot. The previous 2 had 40 and 48 respectively. Julie Saint-Amand, who has put her name on the ballot for all 3 of those by-elections, said advocacy campaigns in the past haven't been effective, and she hopes the high number of candidates is drawing attention to the electoral reform debate. By just getting more people aware and talking about it, we're hoping it just spreads like wildfire, she said. Now, as critical as I've been, this is playing within the rules of the system in order to bring attention to your cause. Some people thought of this, wanted to bring attention to the cause, are doing this. It's a bit of a protest movement. Hey, you know what? As I keep on saying, democracy is something that you do. I personally would not support what it is that you're calling for in terms of changing our method of voting, but you believe in this. You found a way to work within the system in order to bring attention to your cause that is legal. It's within the rules of order. More power to you.
Oh, yes.
That's getting involved in doing democracy. That's an example. It's not advocating a position that I myself hold, but it is doing in a way that if I were, I probably would attempt to do the same thing. In the same way. So good for you. Well done. Elections Canada has had to make a number of temporary changes to the Elections Act in order to accommodate the oversized ballot. The law allows the head of Elections Canada to make short-term changes in case of an emergency or an unusual or unforeseen circumstance. And here, Mr. Grizzly, I believe, is a specimen of what the ballot will look like. And I'm going to do this as a scroll so the kids can see here. Do 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 do.
Holy crap.
Do 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 do.
So how long do I got to spend in the ballot box to read that? Like 10 minutes? Judas Priest.
Well, it's not going to take you longer if you know who you want to vote for when you're going in. You just have to find the name.
Yeah.
And fortunately, they are in alphabetical order.
Okay.
So that does help. But yeah, the ballot will have 2 columns of candidates listed side by side instead of the traditional single column. In addition, the circles where voters mark their preference will be listed on the right and left margins of the ballot, because normally they're always on the left, I believe, or the right. I don't know anymore now that I'm thinking about it, but you're usually all on one side. Carol, that's longer than our tax returns on paper. Elections Canada says the ballot is 30 centimeters wide and 90 centimeters long. A typical ballot box can only contain 1,000 ballots. Elections Canada expects only 100 will fit in each ballot box on election night. So we need more ballot boxes.
Great.
In order to hold the same election, because the ballots are longer. Oh, man. So that's what's going on in St. Paul's. Now, there's also the issue of other by-elections coming that the Prime Minister has not yet named or called, but there's a by-election season coming, according to iPolitics. Pollsters and pundits are anticipating a hotly contested battle between the Conservatives and Liberals next Monday in St. Paul's. But there are 4 other vacancies in the House of Commons requiring the Prime Minister to call by-elections in the coming months. The dates of the races are yet to be announced, but iPolitics spoke to strategists of every political stripe to forecast the local races that will follow in Toronto St. Paul's. Quote, by-elections don't matter unless they do, said John O'Leary, a former Liberal staffer turned senior consultant with Crestview Strategy. Quote, for all 3 parties, the key is around expectations because a by-election can be viewed as a sign of momentum or it could demonstrate a collapse and a sign of a potentially worse prospect to come. None of these by-elections are going to change the fundamental math of the House of Commons right now, but for all of them and for all 3 major parties, there's a storyline that can be told. So I'm not quite sure which writings specifically have them, because it wasn't in the brief. It might be in the fuller article, but there are 4 more coming. So provincially, and these are the federal ones. So the first one we reported was a provincial by-election in the province of Manitoba for the provincial legislature, and the other ones that we're talking about are specifically about the federal ones. They're coming. Hopefully, I will be able to find the names of those 4 by-elections coming up soon for you kids. But I can't seem to open the article at the moment.
No worries. We'll get to it. We'll get to it later. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
Just blow on past that.
Yep. Now, another thing that has happened in the news, you'll remember that I think maybe last week or so, or maybe the week before, we reported that the federal parliamentary budget officer, Yves Giroux, had come out to say that there was a mistake made.
We made a mistake.
The way they did the original calculations. Then it seems that the Conservatives said, Liberals, give out the report and see what you did. And then the Liberals did make it public. They were going to go to committee and fight for it. And the Liberals said, yeah, fine, here, have it.
Take it. Cheers.
Yeah.
Take it and go.
Yeah. And the report said that we were probably on track to cut our emissions by 20%. I think it is by 2025, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Impact of the carbon tax, according to their analysis, the carbon would lower Canada's greenhouse gas emissions by over 12% by 2030. But the data also shows Canada's GDP could be hurt to the tune of $25 billion. And then, the Conservatives basically did the thing where they're a detective that walks into a room and go, ha ha. Now, again, whether or not this $25 billion, yes, there will be in terms of making those moves in certain areas, but don't know if that analysis also calculated the additional revenue that can be made from initiatives to fight carbon, and whether this is a hurt to the economy to the tune of 25 billion net, or just if we do that, we reduce the carbon, whatever those carbon generating activities do could reduce revenue by 25 billion. But all the technologies and the methods that we would use would then create other jobs in industry, and that's balanced against that to create a net. So I'm not sure if they're just looking at one side of the ledger here, or if they're looking at both for this number. Now, this came out, and Yves Giroux made some statements such that he had this information from the government, but he was forbidden to use it. And it was interpreted, I don't know if he said himself, I doubt he said himself that he was gagged, but it got reinterpreted as that he was gagged. And then he had to come back out again and clarify, saying something like, maybe it's because English is not my first language or something, but it's like the government gave me this information and asked me not to use it in the report, but I was not gagged. So there's a difference between, there's information that's embargoed, which you're not, like, for example, when you're in the budget holding room, yes, you have the information because the budget's long, so you get to read it all day long and start to write your report. But it is until 4 o'clock when they start reading it that you can actually go out with the information, right? That's embargoed information. You can talk about it publicly, but not before a certain date or time, so that you don't scoop the person, right? That's making the announcement. That's one thing. A gag, or for example, non-disclosure agreement or a gag, is specifically you cannot talk about this. For example, this is what's happening on the foreign interference thing. There's certain of our allied nations that have let us have some intelligence,
Right.
on condition that we do not use it to criminally charge or prosecute.
Well, intel is not evidence, right?
Yeah. But even if it was evidence, hardcore evidence, they might be needing it for an investigation of their own.
So if we use that intel, it then exposes that intel to who the individual in question is, which can jeopardize somebody else somewhere. It's the pebble in the pond thing. It's a Mandelbrot set. You can't just do this without damaging something somewhere else. So
So
the vast majority of the population does not comprehend that, though, and instead they'll listen to Pierre Poilievre scream, "Release the names! Release the names!"
Exactly. So that's information that is lent to us so that we have some background. We know what's going on globally, but we can't use it. We are actually gagged on that.
Yes.
Right? By our allies. Do not use it. Then there is this. We're giving you this. We would ask you don't publish it.
It's all.
If you do, but we're giving it to you knowing that you can.
We ask
that's not a gag.
Yeah, that's different. It's a request.
Not a gag.
It's a polite request.
It's a polite request. So he had to go there and clarify. This is now the second time that the parliamentary budget officer says something that gives the opposition an avenue to punch down on the government. Now, the first one that happened, it was allowed to sit there for months. This one just sat here for a couple of days. But after the first mistake, there was already a lot of people saying that this guy probably needs to go. You can't make a mistake that's sloppy. Like this. And it wasn't so much the mistake that was sloppy. It was the fact that they corrected it super quietly.
Right.
That almost nobody noticed, considering what a big impact that mistake had politically. Right.
Well, and then
it may not have a big impact ultimately on the numbers at the end of the day. The parliamentary budget officer may be right that once they include all those numbers, yes, there'll be a slight change. There'll be a slight improvement in the favor of the government, but it'll still the general line that we're not there yet, or that there's something missing or something more left to do, might still be true. But considering that it's impossible that he was not aware of what impact it had politically and on the debate, you can't just say, type it up, send it out, bring no additional attention to it, and say, well, we did correct it.
But it's too late.
It has to be proportional to the impact it had.
And
your retraction
didn't help. He made no bloody sense, and I watched it 3 times, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell he was trying to say.
Yeah, it's like when you make a mistake that's really huge, but then you print your correction on page B10, bottom left-hand corner, and bring no attention to it. That's okay. It's like in public relations, the more epic the screw-up, the more public and visible the correction or retraction needs to be.
Oh, yes, indeed.
They kind of go hand in hand. And that didn't happen in this case. And so that was more the reason for a request for resignation. But now this is the second time that something has been said that's created an opening. And as we know, the truth, a lie makes its way around the world before the truth gets its pants on.
Yeah.
We can't have this. I'm sure he's a nice man.
But it needs to be fixed.
Yeah. There are performance issues here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah. That's not good.
No, not good at all.
So, just a little note that had happened. The capital gains measure did pass in the House of Commons, as expected. It will take effect June 25th. As expected, the Conservatives voted against it.
And they keep railing on, this is going to hurt the middle class.
Yes. But it happened, so we're there. Apparently, there are 4 bills left for the government to try to pass before they leave for the summer break. And that's going to be, I'm not sure if they're going to have to ask for more time or do late night sittings in order to get them. Because normally around this time, that's what we hear. And I haven't been hearing too much about that. But there are 4 important bills. I believe one of them would have something to do with the budget. So that would be very, very important to get on and make sure it's passed before they go. Now, of course, if it's not, it's no big deal. They could do it again in the fall, but governments usually like to have the full budgetary stuff done and passing the bow on it before the break.
They don't want to have stuff hanging over their head all summer long, right?
Right. Bill C-58 as well, which was the anti-scab legislation, passed the Senate third reading on Monday night, so it is now law.
Well, and
when it comes into effect, I think
the Conservatives actually supported that one, and we were kind of like, what?
Yeah.
What happened? And hey, good on you. You did the right thing, but we were shocked. You tend to be the union busters. Why would you support this? I really am baffle-gabbed about this. I'm flabbergasted. I'm so flabbered. I'm completely gasted. I don't know. It's beyond me that they were in support of this. Did they?
I do. It's the single most important piece of pro-worker legislation in the last 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
Easily.
Did the Conservatives not read it and think, oh, this is going to make scabs easier to get? Like, what? Wait a minute. The NDP, the Liberal, they're all voting for this?
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, he is courting workers, right?
Yeah.
He is trying to bump the NDP out of place as being the pro-worker party.
He also pushes the right-to-work legislation, which is a union busting.
Right. Now, according to iPolitics, the bill bans the use of replacement workers during strikes and lockouts, though there are exceptions in cases where workers are needed to protect the health and safety and to prevent environmental harms and the destruction of property.
Which is reasonable.
Yes, exactly. Reasonable exceptions. But for employers to make use of these maintenance of service exemptions, they would have to reach a deal with the union within 15 days from when notice to start bargaining is given. If no deal is reached, the Canadian Industrial Relations Board would then have 82 days to rule on the application. It was originally 90, but a Liberal amendment at committee lowered the number. No strike or lockout can start if a decision on maintenance of services from the CIRB is pending. The bill will come into force 12 months after becoming law, after changes by the House Human Resources Committee last month. It was originally intended to come into force 18 months after receiving royal assent, and it seems that the Conservatives were okay with that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a nice statement from PNC Bio. Liberals are strong on labor these days, as evidenced by Seamus O'Regan, who, will you call and replace? No. When they asked him about the Vancouver port, if they were going to bring in replacement labor, he was like, absolutely not. I can't believe you asked me that. You should taste some leather. Expected to smack him across the face with his glove. I'm absolutely outraged that you would think something of that, sir. You should taste some leather.
Oh, man.
But I loved the response the look on his face, like, no, what the hell's wrong with you? Why would we do that? Like, he's really got their back on this one.
Yeah, he does. According to Katie O'Malley, and I think I'm going to have some information there on the other 4 bills. With just 1 week left on the clock until the House of Commons shuts down for the summer, MPs will likely get at least one more chance to cross-examine Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over the findings and what, if any, actions he intends to take in response to the report from NCCOP earlier this month, although as yet there's no word on exactly when he'll be back in his front and center seat in the chamber to face his critics. As CTV News reported over the weekend, when pressed about the report's most talked about findings, namely that some current and former MPs may have willingly aided and abetted foreign agents in their efforts to influence Canadian politics, Trudeau pointed to his government's initial response in which, quote, they made clear some concerns we had with the way that NCCOP drew conclusions, which he called, quote, an important part of the process. Bloc Québécois leader François Blanchet is expected to become the third-party leader to take Trudeau up on his offer to peruse an unredacted copy of the report later this week, although as yet there's no word on how long it will take for him to get the required security clearance. Let's see, what else do we have here? The spring budget bill election law changes are among the final items on the pre-summer priority list. So that's one of them here. Meanwhile, with the government's long-promised bid to crack down on foreign political meddling set to start working its way through the upper house on Monday, and barring last-minute procedural complications, now on track to make it to the legislative finish line before the Senate powers down for the season. So that's the Foreign Agents Registry, Bill C-70, so that one also passed. I'm not sure if it's cleared the Senate yet. But the four items left on Liberal House Leader Steve McKinnon's pre-summer priority list are Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's spring budget bill, as I mentioned, which after a prolonged go-round at committee made its report stage debut last week, but only managed to clock in a few hours of debate before the government served notice that they're prepared to force a vote on both the amended version of the bill and the 161 amendments put forward by the Conservatives, each of which proposes the removal of a particular clause which, based on past precedent, were aimed at triggering a marathon voting session to close out the sitting. And the Conservatives, again, are making big noise about, like, we're going to keep sitting until like this. And every time they say that, it never comes through. I think even one year they actually, or one time, the one session, they actually left a day early because they they put the bow on everything one day earlier than they needed to, even while they were swearing up and down that they would sit all summer long.
It's just bluster. It's just bluster from a bullshit leader from a bullshit party.
Yes. Any such hopes would have been swiftly dashed, however, by the voting pattern outlined by the Speaker, which, as drafted, would require just 14 recorded votes to deal with the entire batch of motions, which likely wouldn't take more than a few hours to get through, and even that could be cut down considerably if the parties agree to apply the results. It's worth noting that MPs are already scheduled to sit until midnight on Monday, which could give them enough time to get through both report stage and third reading of the bill, depending as always on how the day plays out. So yes, there will be extended sittings. It just hadn't made the mainstream press, so I wasn't sure if it had happened. In his weekly look ahead, McKinnon advised his chamber colleagues that the government is also ready to force a make-or-break second reading vote on Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc's proposed overhaul of the Canada Elections Act. While initially introduced with the support of New Democrats, it has come under sustained criticism for all parties over its proposal to bump the current fixed date for the next election from October 20th to October 27th. Now, we talked about this on the show before. The reason that the Liberals say that they're doing this is for Diwali, because it conflicts, which is celebrated by, quote, Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs in South Asian communities, but would also give MPs the first elected. Oh, but here's the other thing. By delaying it 1 week, it also gives MPs first elected in the 2019 the minimum 6 years of service needed to qualify for full parliamentary pension.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'll take that. I'll take that golden parachute, fully indexed pension.
Oddly enough, the opposition parties are pretending like they don't want it, particularly the New Democrats. Now, the thing about that, however, is we must remember that Jagmeet Singh entered Parliament through a by-election. So his start date is different than the start date of his MPs that were just elected in 2019. So he will have his, but they will not have theirs. And Mr. Singh is taking the public position that he's okay with it being on the 20th and that his fellow MPs don't get theirs. I'm sure that's going to be fantastic around the table in closed meetings.
Yeah.
Within the party, especially with the party looking at, well, losing half its seats at the moment. Yeah. Indeed. Depending on what happens with Freeland's budget bill, the MPs could circle back to the election law rewrite as early as Tuesday. McKinnon also suggested that his government is also keen to get Justice Minister Arif Irani's pitch to create an independent review panel to investigate potential miscarriages of justice to a final third reading vote. I did not even know that was in the works, but yes, could we have that? if there's a miscarriage of justice, that there's actually an independent panel that looks at it rather than it going onto the minister's desk if the minister decides they're going to get around to it someday. Looking at you, Jody Wilson-Raybould.
Yeah, she let a man sit in prison for how long because of that? Like,
Yeah.
just completely ignored the file altogether.
Yeah, indeed. Jeez. Oh, man. As per the parliamentary calendar, the sitting will officially end on Friday, although there's still the possibility that the parties could agree to wind it down a day or two ahead of schedule, which has happened in the past, as I mentioned. Meanwhile, the Conservatives are set to launch an 11th hour cross-committee campaign to help the House committee circuit rolling throughout the summer, courtesy of a series of synchronized standalone motions to be put forward during what is currently slated to be the last week of regular meetings before the summer recess, which, as is standard practice under the current minority configuration, will require the support of all opposition members to override any objections from the Liberal side at the table. There you go. So those bills hopefully will get through before the session is out. Let's see if I've got any other little quick hits before we wrap up. Mr. Grizzly?
Programming note, we'll have to record this evening because I have a 7:30 call tomorrow.
Okay.
So this is going to be the turmoil of my life for the next 2 weeks, right? This week and the next 2 weeks until I take vacation. And believe me, when I say this, when I'm in Calgary, I will get up at 5 a.m. to do a live show at 7 Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, my.
Even while I'm on vacation. Now, I'm going to take a couple of days where I'm camping, so there won't be anything, obviously. But yeah, I'll be up on the Monday. And the Tuesday, I have to take Bridget's flight is at 7 a.m., so it's not a big deal.
Okay. Maybe we might be able to do some pre-records for those as well or something.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. It's just it's the time to pre-record is the hard part.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of time in my schedule.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll have to record this tonight for tomorrow morning and Friday. Right now, there's nothing scheduled for me Friday. That could change. I don't want to have Friday off because that means if I'm not working, I'm not earning. So, so hey, you get Friday off. Yeah, but I'm losing a day's pay.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. We don't want that. Let's see, what else have we got here? Just little notes here. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is going to be visiting Ottawa today to meet with the Prime Minister. Obviously, the issue of 2% of GDP spent on NATO is going to come up, but the government is pre-butting the argument by saying that even though we're only slated to reach 1.37% this year, and Bill Blair says that we will get to 2% eventually, which is the first time I've heard somebody say that we will get there eventually. But NATO had demanded a plan to get there, and we have not done that, presented one, which will maybe be an issue. But the government is saying, Anita Anand, who's the Treasury Board president, says it's fairly superficial to only speak of 2% without examining how the funding is going to be spent in the short and long term. Why would we continue to fill the books with additional money if that money can't get out the door? That has been so. And it is true that we're committing money, but we don't have the staff to get them out the door. Now, the latest defense policy document that came out not too long ago has said that they are going to be putting the money into hiring the staff that is required to see that much money going out on procurement in a safe and responsible way. But that will only start, the hiring will only start next year because, they have to write all the employment descriptions and, then have them assessed and see what pay rank and what pay rate that's going to be. So all that work, administrative work, has to be done before they can announce. Then they have to have the job hiring processes, and those are long and involved. Trust me, I've worked for the federal government. Sometimes takes
very long.
From your first interview, from the time you fill in the application to the time they tell you you're hired. Sometimes it could take 6 months to a year. So it's again, these things don't happen instantly. Just so you know there. And of course, in the United States today, June 19 is Junteenth. So Americans are celebrating the national holiday, Junteenth. That marked the end of slavery in many states. It was on that day in 1865 when the Emancipation Proclamation was ordered to be enforced in Texas that the order came 2 years after the proclamation was signed, meaning that people that were enslaved went years before learning that they had actually been freed.
Yeah.
So Juneteenth is considered the longest running holiday in Black communities in the U.S. It became a federal holiday in 2021. U.S. President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day into law. So
it's a national federal holiday in the U.S.
It's a national federal holiday now. All right, Kits and Cubs and Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show.
We do indeed, sir.
All right. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And if you scan that QR code that's right under my chin, thanks to the Ray Girl, that will bring you to our pod page. If you're listening, that's podpage.com/the-true-north-eager-beaver. Lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. That way you don't have to miss a thing. And those of you, again, you won't hear this right now, but we were able to upload 5 episodes that we were behind yesterday. So, and I will keep up with the episode descriptions. Hopefully, by the end of the weekend, I will have us all caught up to date. Hopefully. But don't count on that.
Don't hold your breath.
Because there's other stuff going on. But please, we appreciate your patience. Basically what we're trying to say here. If you would like to support us in other ways, make like Kit Elaine and have a beyond awesome day, everyone. And remember to smash the button before you leave. And if you want to smash that button, well, then you need to go to our YouTube page, True North Eager Beaver Media. And there you can flick, click, and lick our buttons like, share, subscribe, like over 2,000 580 people have so far before we started this morning. 595. So thank you so very much, everybody who's doing that. We really appreciate that. And if you would like to support us in other ways, that QR code that's right by Mr. Grizzly's head brings you to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And there you will find our tip jar, or the Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund, as we like to call it, where if you have a little bit of change in your pockets that's weighing you down, well, if you drop them in there, then that allows us to hire our staff, Guinness and Caesar and hot chocolate and coffee, and they help us put this show together for you. So, yeah. Thank you so much for all you do. And you know what? I was just thinking, Mr. Grizzly, the Dean Blundell show on YouTube has between 3,000 and 4,000 subscribers.
Okay. So you're trying to surpass our boss? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm not saying that.
Yes, you are.
But I wouldn't be sad. Beaver's getting greedy. Beaver's getting greedy.
Settle down. Settle down.
I can't help it. I want more ultimate power.
I will humble you.
Beaver global domination. No. Trust me. Yeah, you don't want to give me that power. I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway.
Just want to join the middle class.
I'm like Evita. I just want to be respected by the middle classes.
I don't care about respect. I just want to earn enough money to keep a roof over my head and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, a little pinky. Yes. Once we surpass Dean, we go from Beaver and the Grizz to Pinky and the Brain. Try to take over the world, Mr. Grizzly. Could you imagine levels like if I actually ran the world, there might be just a little too much glitter. People would be like picking it out of their belly buttons, and then there'd be a revolt. And
I'm a glitter knight, but if it glitters near me, it gets on me. It gets on me. It does. If I'm anywhere near it, it gets on me. So it's like,
indeed,
just keep it away.
Indeed.
I don't want it getting into my dog's diet.
No. So please, if you have an opportunity to go to our coffee page and give us a little support, Kit Linda M's got the spirit here. No such thing as too much glitter. Well, there's no such thing as too much fabulous. There may be such thing as too much glitter. If you're still picking it out of your belly button 2 years later,
Yeah.
too much glitter.
That's a little too much.
All right. Because democracy is something that you do, right? Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor,
Yes,
Minister of
Carol.
Veterans Affairs,
That is
and
correct.
ask to do more. Pardon? What's that, Mr. Grizzly?
In response to Carol's question, more views equals money, asking, yes.
Yes.
Correct.
More views
It
does
does.
equal money. Yes, please. Yes. Do view us. Look at us.
The more viewers, see, the more subscribers, the more viewers. What happens is the ads get played, the more ads get viewed. That's how it generates income for us.
Yep, indeed. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the wonderful thing about 1,000 is now that we get some income just for existing.
Yes.
Which is kind of nice because everything else we've had to make rain up until now.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, all of this money that I've spent on all of this equipment, it's all come out of my pocket. All of it. I'm over 20 grand now.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Let's see. What else do we have?
It's taken a few years, by the way, too. I didn't just drop 20 grand in one shot. It's taken 4+ years to purchase all this. And there's still things I need, but we can make do with what we have for the time being.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're technically way over-equipped for the amount of time we've been on.
Perhaps, but I mean, we still need to get some wireless mics. I need. There's other stuff that needs to be purchased, but I just don't have the budget for it. Right
now. It's like, but we have capacities that most shows at this stage.
No, that's true.
Because there's not enough, and that's all because Mr. Grizzly has been willing to put in the money. So, we're hoping for it to be business. Right now, it's still a hobby, but it is an expensive hobby.
Full-time job.
But we would like it to be our job. That's definitely what we would like eventually, and then hopefully, hey, maybe like I said, someday, even being able to hire people.
That's the goal.
Good.
So that benefits. I can worry less about production and tech and more about content. And I can get back to doing some of my other shows, my jazz show, my pop music show, and put some more effort into my ASMR show. It's just trying to do this and everything else.
And then promote them more and make give them more featured place in our network. Mademoiselle Fox's show as well, and all that kind of stuff. And whoever joins us, we've been talking to a couple of people as well, so about starting some initiatives, and we also want to do some stuff like, for example, from the Misfit Mysteries. There's we talked about it again, trying to do audiobooks of them. We need to set aside some time to be able to do that, which is because it's a whole different project with different editing and mixing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yep.
Actually, let me rephrase that. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time. Because work to me is labor, and this isn't labor, it's time consumption. And that's what it is. So.
Yep. Indeed. So, because democracy is something that you do, like we said, write to Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor and ask them to do better to our veterans. If you are in Alberta, get involved in the NDP leadership race. If you are in New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, or BC, you have some provincial elections coming along. If you're in the Toronto-St. Paul's area, you have a by-election coming up in just 8 days. Make a plan to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Vote early if you need to. Make a plan to vote. Make a plan to go there with some friends. Remember, friends do not let friends do democracy unsupervised. All right. From the Beaver Lodge, this is your eager beaver saying it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom, please.
Stay hydrated today.
Yes.
Stay hydrated. If you need to drink a Prime or a Body Armor or a Gatorade or something, I would actually recommend coconut water if you can find it, but all of them will help you on a day like today because you are going to be sweating faster than your body can absorb water. So you're going to need an electrolyte drink of some type because the water will flush through you at this when the weather is in this state. We're looking at 45 with Humidex today, which means the second you step outside, you will begin to sweat. And your body can't absorb water fast enough. So electrolyte drinks, find one that is the best for you. I can't tell you what that is, but a coconut water works really, really well, and it's a good shot of potassium. So yeah, take care and pay attention to that today.
Mm-hmm. We have some kids that are going saying Mateo's, Miss Shadika saying Mateo's class is not air conditioned. I'm keeping him home today, but he wants to go tomorrow. I'm seeing that a lot too on Twitter. A lot of people keeping their children home from class because some of the classrooms are getting up to 43 degrees Celsius in there.
Mademoiselle Fox's daughter, who is 18 and graduates like next week, I think, her school, it's a very large school, and there's no air conditioning. And I'm like, just keep her home today. There's no reason children should be in school on a day like today if there's no air conditioning. Like none.
And with this kind of heat, learning is just...
You're not going to learn it. All you want to do is sleep in this heat. You cannot learn in a condition like that. You can't. You can't learn when you're freezing cold. You can't learn when you're hungry, and you can't learn when you're overheated. Simple as that. It would be a waste of everyone's time and place people in health jeopardy today. So just keep your kids home today.
Yep, absolutely.
And if the school board complains, tell them to go to hell. Tell them I told them to go to hell. Unless they have air conditioning and proper HVAC, proper ventilation, tell them to go to hell.
Mm-hmm. And also, keep an extra bit of attention for our four-legged friends.
Mm-hmm.
As well, four-legged friends and family members. Make sure that your kitties, your puppies, and anything else that you have are staying nice and cool as well. All right, Mr. Grizzly. I guess those were your words of wisdom?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Then, please, as Kit Michael would say, cue the cock.
Trying to. I'm just having problems here with the things this morning. Nothing's working right.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. Before we go, just a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Miss Shadika and family, particularly Mateo, who bought us a coffee.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So thank you for keeping our mama happy in the mornings, say the kids. Thank you so much, family. You are all wonderful. Thank you, Rain. Thank you, Jazzy. Thank you, Mateo. We really appreciate it. Thank you. It's going to be a hot chocolate with extra whipped cream for the Beaver this time.
And
right?
a large espresso.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to Kit Mystical for their donation. Always a fan of the work you do. I'm happy to be a small part of it. Much love. Thank you. Really appreciate it. That was very generous. Thank you.
I'll try and get memberships operational by this weekend. We've had it on the back burner for a while, just letting you know, because Saucy was talking about memberships. We've had it on the back burner for a while. I'm going to work on it this weekend, so we'll present something to you next week, but we've got to create some content for that because memberships is exclusive content that the main channel doesn't get, so we have to create the content for you.
We do have the advantage now because with the YouTube change of being able to give you with membership at least shows without ads with that. So that will be the case. And Mr. Grizzly, I would like to do like our one of the shows that inspired us, the Daily Beans, because they have memberships, given the option for people to buy memberships for themselves, but also to buy a membership
as a gift,
as a gift for someone else. Or just to have in pool if somebody wants a membership and can't afford it at this moment, and they would like to buy a membership that we could give to someone that would do that as well. So you could try to set it up so that you could buy memberships for yourself and also donate them. All right. And then we got so Kit Swanky Frankie. Love all you do, guys. Thank you. Good. Thank you so much, good sir. Kit Wendy. Cheers, gents. Best pod out there. Thank you for your great work. Keep it up. You guys are terrific.
Thank you.
And then Kit Vim. I love you guys. I'm so happy people are recognizing how amazing your podcast is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you, all of you kits and cubs. Really grateful. So stay cool. Have a great day.
See you later. Take care.